Alright, so I'm gonna jump into Blender. Already in Blender, you guys probably see it. And continue with my scene. First of all, I spent the weekend reading up on streaming cards quite a lot. And it seems like the two main ones, Elgato and I forgot what the other company's name, but their hardware encoder seems to be quite proprietary, so you can only use their streaming software. And I'm using the Open Broadcast software, which is open source and super easy. And the main issue there is that I cannot use the streaming card to encode the stream, because it's quite occupied with like getting the input stream at a really high bitrate, and then it encodes the output stream for like OBS. So if I buy one of these, I'm still gonna have the problem that my computer can't really work with Blender and capture capture the like screen and encode a stream for YouTube. So I'm gonna put that plan on ice for a while. If I buy a streaming card, I'm gonna buy a second PC, like a small chassis which can take this like my Blender or my entire monitor actually as an input, and I'm gonna run OBS on the second PC and stuff like that. But I did some tests during the weekend, some private streams, to try and find a bitrate where my computer can manage to capture the screen and encode upstream for YouTube. So the quality might be a bit suffering. I don't run 2 passes and 800 kilobits bitrate in HD 720p. But when I did that, all my okay, I can't sculpt that one because it's linked in, but all my like brush menus and stuff like that stopped lagging and stuff. So the stream might be a bit suffering, but at least it's up and running, and I guess most people will just drop in and look for a bit while I work and then drop out and stuff like that. So for high quality videos I kinda need to stick to the uploads. But one thing I did this weekend on Sunday was actually to fix these trees, fix the normal baking, so they're not I'm not having the like blocked assets, I have the real assets. But I'm gonna focus on painting them. One of them I did kind of paint, and the other one is just the normal maps and some of the gradients I'm using. But what I was thinking about is, like in this scene, to redo this stone to be more like a altar. So, and I want to do more like these cracks and like stuff on it. So I'm gonna focus on sculpting that one, and when I'm done with the high sculpt, I'm pretty much done with it for the stream. I'm gonna do the low poly conversion and normal baking and stuff like that off stream, because it's gonna start lagging otherwise, or buffering. So I'm just gonna do a high poly sculpt of a new altar, and then I'm probably gonna redo or texture paint some of these fir trees, and that's gonna be it for today's stream. It's gonna be a more like to test the settings, and I'm gonna watch the replay later and see the quality. Since I'm just doing 1 pass and not 2 pass in the encoding, I'm guessing like fast movements like this would be quite blurry or blocky, like with the encoder artifacts. But that's at least the plan for today. So if you jump in or joining in, and enjoy the stream. And I'm just gonna keep on working. I'm gonna turn off the microphone because they're doing some construction on my street, so you can hear like yeah, construction work. And I'm turning it down when I need to speak.
So I'm not. I don't know if you can hear the construction going on. They're running like a pump or something, so it could be a low humming.
So, but basically this, I think this shape is kind of nice. So I will do high poly, start doing a high poly version with multi-res and prepare it for sculpting. And then to make it a bit asymmetrical to fit the scene, I will use the, I think I will use the grab brush and just push and pull it in different directions. So the base mesh is gonna be pretty much like this, symmetrical, and then I can always apply the base shape when I'm done with the sculpting, because it's gonna alter it quite much. So yeah, throw a multi-res on it and it's gonna look weird. So I think I'm gonna fix most of the stuff with edge loops and probably some edge crease, but get some artifacts. So yeah, I'm gonna start to prepare this high poly version. I'm turning off the microphone again. So you might notice that I'm using a subdivision surface modifier instead of the multi-res, because the multi-res you can't really see in edit mode. Meanwhile, or like you can see it in edit mode, but you can't do like edge creases and stuff like that. Then you have to jump out to object mode to see them. So I'm going to remove the subsurface and add my multi-res once again. And we just scale it back a bit, and I will probably make these guys a bit less. Okay, I think this is okay. I can sculpt the issues we're seeing, or maybe I can just extrude them away. No, not extrude. I have to sculpt it away. But the general base shape is done, and most of this part would be underneath the ground floor. But I could lift everything up a tiny bit so we have a nice pivot point. And everything under this origin point will be under the floor or the ground. So I will start with the sculpting process, but maybe before that, I can't make complete loop cuts. I should add probably a bit more geometry and try to get like square faces, so it goes a little bit better when sculpting, so the strokes don't get stretched. So I can add there, but I'm gonna regret that. I'm gonna probably remove the multi-res to add all the geometry I need. And it's gonna be a bit tricky since I can't do loop cuts and around the entire model. So it's probably these guys that are destroying the topology flow. Yeah, this guy becomes an end gun. So yeah, I'm gonna spend a time with that. I was hoping like my brushes shouldn't lag, but they just started to lag. So I'm gonna read some comments. Hoyt, are there any add-ons for beveling like in Maya with different options for corner flow, etc.? I'm curious with Dyntopo and consequent decimate is not an option since this is a static mesh. I'm trying to figure out the most productive workflow. So yeah, Hoyt, I'm working... when I'm working with like static meshes for game engines, I'm using the decimate with triangulate all the time, because then I can see the polygon amount, which is going to be the same for the game engine. So as long as you're doing like yeah, just that is static meshes, I would go with decimate modifier. So in my previous video, although it's a bit laggy and stuff like that, you can see the decimate workflow. There is, you can use probably, there's a bevel modifier where you can address, you can use groups. So if you just want to bevel certain vertices, add them to a group and use this bevel modifier and select that group. I don't know if it's like in Maya, but it's less destructive than adding, like I've done. I added the bevels with Ctrl B. So then you're kind of altering the base mesh. So yeah, I might check out the Maya Bevel tool in some video. But if you want a less destructive workflow, you can use the Bevel modifier with vertex groups and stuff like that. So yeah, and hello everybody who says hi. I'm gonna continue with sculpting this multi-res high poly version. So I'm gonna just sculpt for a couple of minutes. Yeah, as Jason says, can also bevel with using Ctrl B, but that is in yeah, that's in edit mode, so it's a bit destructive, but that's how I've done it on this one. But if you want something that's less destructive, I should go for the modifier. So this is a bit unfortunate that Screencast Keys is beneath this menu, and I kinda need this menu to change brushes quickly. I'm gonna check if my own menu is lagging when I stream, so I'm gonna use this one. And maybe I should start... Oh, yeah. I should add some more geometry to it, actually. Yeah, I need more geometry and kind of square. So I'm gonna remove the multi-res bit because it doesn't really like when you start adding geometry after it's applied. I should actually have yeah. I should actually had added geometry to this guy also. And I can't subdivide it now because it's an angon. Can't go like this all the way. So painted myself into a corner with this centerpiece, this center face. What I actually should do is like try to get rid of these corners and just make a tiny angon here, and then try and connect all the others. All the other edge loops. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's necessary. It's boring, but it's kind of necessary. I'm not making a table. It's gonna be like a stone altar. Grid fill. Is that an add-on or? Oh yeah, that's exactly what I kind of wanted. But shouldn't I had? It kind of fixed the angons for me. Okay, nice. It's a bit skewed, but I guess that's because of the. But if I cancel the grid fill just for a tiny moment and snap to vertex and make sure it's merging. Or I could actually do like this, alt merge at center. It's still a bit skewed, but it's good enough. Maybe if I had like connected them all to and then manually to one vertex and then manually connected all the side, but I guess this is good enough. I'm just gonna save it. So it's quite high dense now. I'm just gonna try and play some of this stuff. Come on, stop lagging. Okay, but it looks good. It's high dense enough now. Oh, I should maybe... I'm gonna regret some of those strokes. Because I don't want it to be like this super symmetrical. But kinda still have the shape it has now. So it's gonna kinda look like man-made, but chiseled out of stone. Okay, it's not going through anyway. And if you haven't seen any of the other streams, these brushes are called orbs brushes. You can get them on Blend Swap. And if you're feeling generous, you can always find the original author on Gumroad, and which I did, and just he gives them away for totally free, but you can donate like a couple of dollars if you really like them. And I started to love them, so I just took them for a spin, and then I kinda figure out I need to donate. I'm gonna read the comments and check on the stream health. To fix a skewed grid fill, after the grid fill menu should pop up with a setting on bottom left. If you don't see it, yeah, F6, yeah. Many grid lines and the rotation of the grid. I could have done that actually. Next time I'm using, thanks for the tips with the grid fill. Where does the... I'm gonna go into object mode and just check out with about the grid fill. So if I take this guy and just subdivide. Where does the grid fill usually resides, or can you only find it with... One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait a minute. Alright, okay, I get it. But where does the grid fill usually... It's not in the tools menu. Thanks for the tips anyway, I'm gonna start using that all the time. Is it in the specials. I can do it off stream. I have to check out grid fill, and especially if it's like, if it's part of these tools or if it's in Blender itself. So yeah, I can see the stream health is becoming low, which is unfortunate. Face option or edge stuff, yeah. Let me just check that again. Oh yeah, it's here on the faces grid fill, but yeah. Probably gonna bind it to a shortcut later. Oh no. So yeah, I'm gonna turn off the mic for a while, but I'm gonna drop into the chat. Yeah, I use spacebar also, Jason, all the time to find stuff. But once I find them in the menu, I usually, if they don't have a hotkey, I usually give them a hotkey. So my hotkeys are a bit different. I fill with Control F. So I can use F for focus, which is quite nice, and common in other apps. And also because I don't have a numpad on my keyboard, so I kind of need to have focus handy. But I'm gonna turn off the mic for a while and just sculpt. And it seems like the stream health is becoming really low, so I hope you guys don't get too much buffering. I will check it when I'm done streaming. I will check the video and also try to see any metrics, how often it's going to like video output low, because I guess for your end you guys get buffering. But anyways, I'm switching to sculpting mode and gonna sculpt for a couple of minutes. So what I want to add on this model compared to, I did 2 versions before which were both crappy. One were a bit potato-like and the other one was, yeah, I did it really quickly. So what I want to do on this one is I want to add more chisels like this. So I'm just gonna add a couple of them. And then I want to go and do way more. Oh, it's lagging. I want to do way more cracks throughout almost the entire model. So I did kind of small cracks on the. Well, that stroke was. I did kind of small cracks on the previous one, so I want to make larger cracks. So basically make the entire model all cracked up and chiseled. And then something in the middle for the sword, which is in my blocking scene. So I just basically draw out these cracks and then I can go in and smooth and later also touch them up with the stone texture. But I kind of need to go over the entire model and place these cracks. And as you can see, the further out you are, you can the larger the stroke becomes, but you can fix that in a setting. But I kind of like to go in close up to do the details and then go out if I want larger brush stroke without changing the size with the F key. But sometimes you can just change the brush size. Oh, I guess this stroke has become well, probably gone through the model when I was painting somewhere else. Guess same with this one and that one. It can come from these guys. Actually, I think it's done. That one is from that guy. Where does this one come from? Maybe that one. Yeah. So there's gonna be a ton of these kind of paint strokes to do, or sculpt strokes. I don't like that one at all. It's actually that one I don't like. And I can go in and add some of these chisel marks also, because they can help you figure out where you should do all the cracks, because I always like started from one of those. But if I put in some of, maybe not that symmetrical, but some of these chisels, I could use them for starting point for new cracks to appear. And with these brushes you get a couple of them, so you can just find the guys. Like, come on, Blender. Or computer, actually. I'm gonna try and yeah, just add some of these. I guess you guys gonna have a huge buffering because my computer froze for a while. So let's go back to the cracks. Later when I bake the textures, the normal map, these guys are mostly for the normal maps, but I'm gonna bake also ambient occlusion, because I guess I get a lot of stuff for free, like it's gonna be a bit darker in these cracks and crevices, so I don't have to paint that stuff by hand later. I guess I will do a lot of hand painting, but as long as you get something for free, it's always really nice. So some of these chip marks are a bit too like symmetrical and repeating, so I'm just gonna go and make them a bit more unique, so you don't really see that it's the same, it's from the same brush. So you can just go and flatten stuff out. But I don't want to blur them too much, because then they lose the appearance. I'm gonna see if I can pinch some of them back. Or actually just the ridge. So I wasn't actually really happy with this guy, but it's done. And I'm gonna try and pinch some of the cracks already painted, although it's gonna be a lot of more. Okay, I shouldn't pinch that one because it's not finished yet. But at least some of them. But this side needs to be worked over. Do I want to add a large chisel mark? Probably I do. Maybe it should start already up there. No, I have one over there. Okay. So let's do it just like that. So I'm just gonna find some music to listen to, which is not copyrighted, so. But I don't recognize any of these artists. Probably gonna listen to Joachim Karud once more. Ah, that was a bad start. So, but you get the general idea, and I might, oh sorry, I might finish this sculpting off stream later, but I kind of want to work on it. But I guess it's gonna, for you guys it's gonna just be sculpting, but that could be good. Otherwise I'm gonna switch to texture painting. I'm checking the chats to somewhere on there. Yeah, haven't had any buffering. That's weird because on my side the stream health goes to red, but now it's back online. It could be my internet actually. Marcos, hi, I'm not fluent in English, but I want to thank you for the live show. Sorry for the mistakes. Yeah, Marcus, your English is fine. It's totally okay. So, and yeah, I do also all the time mistakes, but that's the good part of live streaming, like the grid fill. I didn't, maybe I have seen it before, but I have totally forgotten about it, so thanks for that one, Jason. I'm gonna use it all the time now. And also with the like tool settings to fix it later, that was really nice. So yeah, so it doesn't become too like boring for you guys, I might jump into texture painting, but like all these processes are like, actually I would like to spend an entire day just sculpting this one, but to have that on a live stream might be boring for you. It's more like I can show you the basics of doing how I do this stuff, and you can try it on yourself. But to finish one of these assets, the ideal thing would be to have like one day to work on it only. So, but I'm gonna leave it here and probably jump back to it off live stream and work on all these cracks and stuff, and the thing in the middle. So I'm gonna see if I have the, no, I'm gonna open up the main scene. So this is the table I'm working on. This is the block model, and these are the versions I did before. This is the potato one that kind of looks too much like a sandstone. So I want this stone altar to be here, and then a sword. I started on the sword on the earlier stream, but I'm not quite happy with it. And I have these guys to do also. But what I actually want to do is jump to one of these trees. Okay, this one I've started painting some stuff on it, but I think I will work on this one. So I have a couple of textures. Let me just or maybe it should be. So this is the base texture, the one we see to the right here. Then I have a gradient that well, if I mute this one, you can see it. So this is without the gradient, and this is with the gradient. As you can see, it does quite a lot to the overall appearance. And then I have one that's like darkened and one that's lightened, but I haven't painted anything yet. So what I like to do is fix a bit of this base texture, and then work on painting some of the like details on the trunk and stuff like that. So I am in phase selection because I don't want to paint the trunk. They are joined into one object in this case. So with this one I will just sample the base color, and I will do the same for this other one. Try to get screen caps working, but I guess this huge menu is covering it. So that was maybe a bit too bright and a bit too blue, but I kinda like the okay. Okay, they're becoming a bit too similar, these two guys, so I'm gonna select another color, maybe more to the yellow. But that's really close to the okay, maybe like that. So we have one that's green towards cold blue or bluer, and then this one that's a bit warmer. So I'm gonna save all the images. Gmic, I have to check that out. I don't use GIMP that much. I use Photoshop and Krita, but I used to use GIMP, but I could never get over the shortcuts. The Photoshop ones are too embedded into my brain. So I want to lighten some of these parts, and I have a texture for it, so I don't mess around with the base color yet. I just want to put in some lighter parts, and probably some kind of yellow is good. Okay. Yeah. So since it's a gradient, I'm just gonna focus at one segment at a time, so, and later smudge them out and stuff like that. So for this segment under, which is a bit darker, it should be enough to go a tiny bit darker. Since this blending mode is green, the effect is quite much compared to just painting with the color itself. So I have some normal issues on these trees, but they were kinda painful to bake. So I don't really care about my, like, a couple of normal issues. In the beginning I had normal issues all over them. So this is more just to get the color in place. Or the highlights, for at least for these guys. And now I can just start to smudge them out a bit into the tree itself, and probably sample that one. And oh, I'm gonna do those guys later. So I'm just gonna continue smudging these out. I have tea, which is good. So this entire scene is later gonna be brought into Unreal Engine, but that's quite. There's quite a couple of days left to put on them. I don't know if I'm gonna stream all the days because so far streaming has only made it take up more time, and I actually need to prepare some stuff for the Stockholm Blender meeting group, which I'm gonna try and prepare this week. I'm gonna show off Decal Machine and probably work on a icon or logotype for the event, or at least like a proposal for an icon. So this is basically painting almost like fake highlights. It will get like real highlights once it's rendered in game, but it doesn't hurt to paint these fake highlights in this when you have this kind of stylized look. So since these guys are protruding out a bit from the molder, I guess it helps to sell them more if you paint a bit of fake highlights onto them. Whoa, okay. So what I want to do now is I have one of these brush which I call like detail, which has a really tiny stroke, and I shouldn't try to change this influence. I should try to change the color itself. Well, that's maybe a bit too dark. So what I want to do is actually just paint in this like fake glossy stuff, just a tiny bit, since this is gonna be a fir tree, but it's already highly stylized. I just want some of this part to look a bit like glossy. Also, this is one of those things I think this is a normal issue. You see, one of those things you would really like to have almost an entire day to like paint one asset. And since this segment is a bit brighter, I might choose a brighter color. So these guys I should also try and paint them later. But now I'm focusing on this like droopy parts and like one segment by one segment. And I think I actually did a bit too much sculpting on all these trees. They kind of look molded, and the look I wanted to achieve was more this like chisel, like manufactured look actually. But yeah, should actually done more like look development. This time I just started doing it. And some of those menus are my own, like, oh, no, it's lagging. That one, and this, like the color picker menu is one of my own with the Pi menu editor. And I think I'm gonna share them later when I have the time to actually export, and probably I'm gonna do a simple page about it, how to like load them and stuff. I haven't tried to load them on a fresh computer, which I should probably do before I share them, but you kind of need the Pi menu editor add-on for them to work. So, but that menu is kind of nice because then you can save all your texture while in 3D Paint, instead of going into here and press Alt S. So while I'm painting I can just save all my textures. And I can't see the chat, so I have to tab out a couple of times to read it. Are you going to use the Blender to Unreal add-on that keeps all the position and can export collision meshes? And you gave the link, so I'm going to check out that link. Collision meshes so far hasn't been an issue for me. I think it generates them automatically, but it could be nice to make your own like custom mesh for collision. But this seems really nice. Yeah, thanks Jason for the link. I think I'm gonna go with this one because so far I've been exporting them like one by one from my asset Greeble layer as FBX and importing them. But on that add-on homepage, you can see the working on objects pack can be really boring if you need to export one object at each time. Yeah, that is really boring. And also like reconstructing all the materials with the texture channels is boring and takes up quite a lot of time. So hopefully in the future we're gonna get an add-on where you can especially in 2.8, where you kind of have the same look on the materials. In Eevee and Unreal, you could, if you could export the basic material setup with some of the texture channels connected, that would save a lot of time actually, instead of redoing them. So yeah, I did some of those details. I want to make a tiny bit of highlights on all these hard edges. So I'm gonna use this brush, but I don't want it to be too bright, like that was too bright. Yeah, something like that. Thanks, Jason, for all the tips. I actually... I don't think I knew about that add-on, and it was something I've been looking for. I seem to have like a UV issue here, which I should look into later. I think if I... it's probably a seam. No, it's not a seam. The seam goes there. But I will check it out and see if I can get rid of those... the seam you see there. Maybe just moving the UV island a bit. So I'm just gonna go a bit darker and then continue painting these hard edges. And the brush I'm using is not that super smooth, so we check the texture. I should probably go over these guys and fix them later. But it's good. It's a good brush to begin with because it adds a lot of like irregular shapes and opacities. So I'm gonna lower the spacing a bit. So when you feel you can get the transition a bit better. The transition from like this bright color to darker. But what I'm basically doing now is just painting on the 3D model in the 3D view, which is a bit computer intense. So when I do the touch-up, I have all this like stuff marked out on the texture. So then I can paint. I can do the smoothing and stuff like that in 2D painting in the UV editor, which is much faster or responsive. And then further on I might do the roughness painting and stuff like that in 2.8, where you can actually see it in viewport, how it's affecting the material. So I think that was a bit too bright actually. I'm just gonna lower it a bit for the rest of the strokes. Jason asked, do you know any plans to improve the texture painting? The only thing I know so far is the engine they call Workbench. And so that's when you go into edit mode. If you're in like object mode, you're going to be looking at Eevee. And then in edit mode, it's going to be the Workbench that does the rendering. And I think they mentioned texture painting and stuff like that. Because I really hope we can have something like this in 2.8. Like a unlit model or unlit rendering, because some of the stuff is kind of hard to see on like it's in even now, like a material mode. So if you need to fix a seam or do some detail, it's much easier to go into this mode, like an unlit texture mode. That's when you discover stuff like this, like weird seams and stuff you have to fix. Because if I switch to material mode now, yeah, it was kind of obvious, but on my other models it's not as easy to see when it's shaded. But if you go into texture mode, you can see it immediately. Oh, sorry. So that's the only thing I know. I don't know who's writing the workbench. I mean the main code for it. I guess it's Clement again. So I might pester him with some mails about it later. Oh, and now when I paint this part, I kind of need to turn on faces. And maybe, yeah. I don't want to paint on the trunk, I just want to paint on this part. And that's because I joined these objects. On the other trees I didn't join the trunk with the canopy. So on those guys I can actually have one trunk with different canopies and stuff like that. But on these guys I joined them when after I did the normal baking. Because I was kind of tired of them, and I was thinking like they're not gonna have one trunk and another canopy because they're so basic. But the other trees has more branches and stuff like that, so could be fun to play around with different canopies. But it will be interesting to see the workbench engine. Not only the stuff we've seen so far with the added Fresnel to the selected vertices and stuff like that, which look really nice. But one important part of that for me is gonna be texture painting and stuff like that. And one nice feature with adding all these like textures like I've done here is that you can always you can remove stuff, you can increase them, but you kind of have to either bake them in Blender or just do it in GIMP or Photoshop, just add all these layers. But I could like boost the... Oh, that's the darken. This is the brighten. I could boost the brighten or like tune it back a bit if it's too little. So you paint once and then you can tweak these settings and stuff like that. So yeah, on this guy I painted some of the like dark spots on the trunk. I haven't done any highlights on it, more than like maybe brighten some parts of it, but I want to paint some highlights to get this sculpted structure to stand out a bit more. But I'm gonna paint this guy's the darks part. So, texture paint, go to my darken texture, and only paint on the trunk. Whoops, now it seems to lag a bit. And this is the opposite. I have a white texture on multiply, so I would probably gonna go like something like that, a really bright color, but a bit warm would be nice. So now it's basically figuring out which part should be dark. Like I want this part, so I start with like this base strokage which looked really blotchy and stuff like that. Later I will go out and smooth out and stuff like that. But like some of this small part would be nice to have a bit darkened, which are probably like I've done some sculpt stroking there. Like this part up there and probably around this like bend. I'm gonna do a bit darken later. Or I'm already doing it darker, I'm gonna touch up on it later. A lot of this stuff I guess I could get for free if I just ambient occlusion bake this one. I don't know why I haven't done it yet, so but I'm not gonna bake on stream because in the previous stream it went like it killed the stream health to bake because it's using all the computer processing power to bake, and then there's nothing left to encode the stream. So I'm just gonna smooth out a bit, so on the texture it looks like this. That's why when I sample it becomes smoother, but I prefer actually to in this mode at least paint on the material, because I want to see the like combined result, if that makes sense. But sometimes it's good to just go in here and look how it looks, but I'm gonna do the basic stuff here and then probably gonna paint some in 2D. So I think this was, yeah, this is a ridge where I want it a bit sharp. Ooh, man, that's bright. And it's gonna be Marcos, you can totally link that channel to the texture in painting. I know one guy on YouTube, XRG, which I watched his video, which actually got me into like hand painting texture. Before that I was more into maybe go substance painter and like photoreal, but that's not as funny for me. And you get like a basic look which all other people also have. So post the link in the chat and I will open it and keep the tab open later. And also if they don't really improve the speed of texture painting in Blender, I mean the tools are there for me. There would be nice to have layers and probably some way of box or circle select pixels, which you can't really do now. But if they don't improve texture painting in Blender, I'm for sure gonna look into Substance Painter. And then just do all the baking necessary in Blender and bring it into Substance Painter and paint there instead. But I'm gonna wait and see how 2.8 turns out. One thing I really don't like is jumping between applications. So if I can avoid that, I would rather stay within Blender as long as possible for creating assets, and then only jump into like the game engine when needed. Oh, I have one of these tiny Easter egg Blender logos. I'm just gonna paint that one. So I think actually also I might lower the resolution on this texture when going into the game engine. Let me see, I think they're all like 1K. So I might go like 768 or 512. But that's later. I like to, if I'm able to paint in 2K or 1K, I'd rather do that than downsample later. Just gonna save and save all images before jumping back to the original file. So some of these trees has been like, I painted them really quickly and want to redo them, but it's basically the same thing I did here. Do some highlights, some shadows, add some stuff to the trunk. The same goes for this guy. So what can I actually work on in this scene that doesn't require normal baking? I could sculpt one of these guys. I have 3 of them left to do. So yeah, this one is actually sculpted, but I haven't the normal map. That's why it looks really wonky. So it's a yeah, I can't edit it. But I'm gonna take one of these guys. Just move them to my greeble layer. And since, whoa, I can turn on Screencast key. I was using Alt D instead of Control D, so I have, it's an instance. And the reason why is because I want to do some box modeling or low poly modeling still on him, and that's this this part which is going into the ground where there's gonna be a bit of rocks and stuff. Okay, but that looks kind of okay, and I can clear his rotation. And this is Obelix 2. So I'm gonna just make a new file and append in that guy. So this is my working asset file, and it's gonna, I'm just gonna do the sculpt, the high poly sculpt, and then off stream I'm gonna use the decimate modifier, which I did in previous stream. I could probably do it in this stream without it going kaput, but the normal baking is gonna be off stream. So I need to save this guy in my asset folder. No, Obelix 2001. So what I did with the other guy was just prepare this part. And I should probably spend just a couple of minutes trying to figure out the base shape, but it's pretty much there already what I want actually. So let's just subdivide it. I'm gonna put a subsurface modifier. Because I want some of these... oh, maybe it didn't work actually. Okay, it's... Oh crap, I should have done it before. Because I want to kinda keep the boxy look of it in the beginning. So I should have creased some of these edges before I did I added more geometry to it. Okay. But I guess most of the stuff I can fix when sculpting. I'm not gonna crease that one. Okay. So I think 5 levels are okay. We have some issues down here, but I'm gonna jump into Sculpt mode and just use one of these anchored ones to check out the resolution. So that actually looks kind of good. Right. Maybe we can just smooth out some of these weird parts. Or I was hoping we could smooth them out. I'm gonna sculpt them away later. So I'm just gonna start with adding some of the rocks that's gonna be like almost on the ground. I can jump in full screen. And I want matte caps. So some weird alpha. I think I saw some bit of the mask, but let's just place out some of these stones. And later we can go in with the flatten brush and smooth brush and stuff like that to make them look a bit different from each other. So flatten. So I'm just gonna touch up on some of them and basically start going over. Oh yeah, I should probably just do a bit non-symmetrical shape with the grab brush. Before adding too much detail. Then the inflate brush is kind of nice, just to add a bit of breaking up the symmetrical thickness and stuff. We can make it jagged later. Here we go. I forgot today to set up my... I have a surface which I usually have on besides me, and where I can read like comments, because they turn up in stream but not on my screen. So I'm just gonna finish some of these lines and then I'm gonna check the comments. And probably gonna take a 10-minute break and make myself more tea for my voice. So, but I'm just gonna go over all these edges quickly, and then we can start. After the break, we can start adding the cracks and stuff. Probably need to be a bit more detailed here. In the beginning it doesn't matter at super much, as long as you don't completely destroy the mesh, but stuff like this just looks like somebody been working on it with a chisel or something, a hammer. So these high poly models, you can totally go over how much you want and almost destroy them and change the base mesh, because you can later apply it, and when you use the decimate modifier for these static meshes, it's gonna regenerate a lot of geometry for you. So, but usually I shouldn't do them this fast, but sometimes you just okay, I shouldn't. For me it looks too much like clay, but yeah, the other one does it. So yeah, I'm gonna check the comments and then go for a 10-minute break to make more tea. So where were Jason gave the Unreal link. Marcus, you can post the URL to the texture painting channel. It's okay. I kind of want it. I like to watch other streamers, and painting is always nice to watch. There's a paid add-on that's called B-Painter and has layers. Yeah, Jason, I have a B-Painter, but I actually disabled it because it kind of messed up all my other brushes. But yeah, I'm gonna try and reinstall a later version, because B-Painter looks amazing, and it actually fixed the stuff with the layers and the stuff where I do with nodes, with multiply and stuff like that. You can do in B-Painter, and it looks really nice. You get hue and stuff like that also, so you can try different color schemes. Oh, Craig Jones, yeah. So Craig Jones is the painting channel. I don't know if you heard that, but they're kind of using dynamite in my neighborhood to build houses, or actually blow away the rock foundation. So don't be scared. But Craig Jones, I follow him on Twitter and stuff, so I'm gonna look at his channel. I've seen some of the posts, his stuff he posts on Twitter, so I think I've been to his channel before. Your attention to detail is fantastic. I actually go quite quickly now, I think. I just add stuff and generally go over it, but I want to do more of those like big cracks, but that takes time. No screencast keys today. Would you make a short high poly, low poly pipeline video? asked Attila Dobos. So yeah, Attila, I'm gonna do one of those videos because one of my friends and former colleagues, he watches this stream only to see the workflow of doing this like high poly sculpt, and then to get the grasp of why you need to do it and bake normal maps to a low poly and exactly where to click in Blender. So I told him I'm gonna live stream some of the stuff, but as we experienced last time, the stream kind of died when I bake stuff. So I'm thinking of making a short video series, maybe like 3 videos or something, where I make a static assets from like block modeling up to sculpting, and then baking all the textures, ambient, occlusion and normal and stuff like that, to a low poly assets, which I'm gonna create with the decimate modifier. I can show you guys that, and then bring it into Unity in one video, and in the other video I'm gonna bring it into Unreal. So yeah, I plan to do it, but it will probably be after Blender conference, because that weekend we have Stockholm Blender meeting, and I have a lot of stuff to prepare for that meeting, making videos and stuff. So let's say in 3 weeks I will do that video, Attila, and I will post it. So I'm gonna take a 10-minute break. You guys can also take a break or just listen to the music or whatever. I'm gonna be back with more tea and stuff. So yeah, the countdown is on. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Alright, and we're back. Yeah, Attila, me too. It's gonna be fun doing that video series, and it's probably gonna be short and pretty basic, or at least focused on making game assets for Unity Unreal, just to get them in and looking good. In a perfect world, I would like to wait until 2.8, but I think I'm gonna do it as soon as possible. I just got the message that like, if you're following football, Sweden has to qualify for the World Cup, and we got Italy. So that's not super nice. And Marcus, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Likewise, it's really nice to get to... I mean, I get a lot of suggestions, like the one Jason gave with the add-on and also grid fill and stuff like that, so it's really nice to pick up stuff from others, and I think we all can evolve way quicker as 3D artists if we just share our workflow and ideas and stuff like that. And besides that, if we're kind of working in the same way, our assets going to be more interchangeable, and it's going to be easier to share assets. And I plan on making a game later on, after maybe a half a year into the future, like next year. And my idea is to try and live stream as much as possible of the asset creation. But this scene is just to get into Unreal. And I'm probably gonna use this scene to try and set up a virtual reality camera control in Unreal and stuff like that. So it's gonna be used to basically getting up and running with Unreal. I just done some basic stuff, game logic and bringing in assets. I want to make like an entire virtual reality scene and stuff like that, or a scene that I can use in virtual reality. You're not gonna do that much, but then look around. So yeah, there's gonna be more live streams, and maybe in the future, if I start making a game and have a budget and stuff like that, I will try and get a second PC up and running, like a small one next to me, that take care of the streaming and coding and stuff like that. Then we can probably go up to like full HD and much higher bitrate. And I can do stuff on my working machine, like bake and stuff like that, which won't affect the streaming quality at all, because that goes via another machine. So yeah, this guy, I'm gonna start adding some of the notches. I'm gonna leave this place clean because I want to do a message there, but I'm gonna do it off stream. And so yeah, this ground plane is basically gonna, most part of it's gonna be under the ground in the scene, but I kind of want some of these rocks to point up. Oh, this music is horrible, but I can't really listen to the music I want because that's copyrighted, and I'm gonna get like 20 emails from YouTube. Oh my god. It's some kind of upbeat library. I'm just gonna quickly change the music. I'm gonna try and find a library on Spotify or something later. Ambient music, YouTube, audio library, perfect. So yeah, let's start adding in some big notches. Kind of want one to go there, and we can use the other anchor texture to just add a couple of small ones. Okay, this was very depressing music, but let's go with it anyway. And then use one of these stone textures with much less influence and by holding control, it's gonna go inwards instead of outwards. So you can make this like it looks like a piece of it has fallen off. And I actually have the screen capture keys. Somebody mentioned it in the... I should probably look up the name. Who was it? Attila, yeah, I have screen capture keys on, but they're always behind this menu, which I use to change brushes. Sounds like music from Patreon video, yeah. And for some unknown reason, the connections to Streamlabs with my OBS sometimes seems to time out or something, because I don't think your chat messages appear in stream. I'm gonna try and look for them, because they did in the beginning. I don't know what's happened. After a while they seems to appear, and also the subscriber list is kinda old. There's a couple of new guys that subscribed when I wasn't streaming, but I think they should appear anyway, because I see them in the back end. I'm gonna see if I can do something about the screencast. Maybe if I have it on the right side, it's a bit better. But you're not... Yeah, you don't... Oh, the... What? Wait, I have to check this. Oh, the mouse. Where's the... alright. Can't I change the... Oh, nice. Okay, I'm gonna do it like this instead. So now it's here in the middle. I was hoping there was like a center, but yeah, 50 should be a center, but maybe a bit off. Since I'm gonna try and make that default later on. So we always have the screencast key here in the middle. But you don't see when I hold control, no. Okay, I think I did too many there. I need to space them out a bit. Oh, yeah, that's way too strong. So okay, I think that's enough to begin with, and now we go and do them. Oh, I don't want to, or maybe I want to. If I cut into like this, and one crack and continue. I'm just gonna do the like broad strokes. Smooth it out so it looks like it disappears. And I can't help myself, I have to fix this. But I should actually just do the broad strokes for these cracks, and then maybe that one. Okay, I'm gonna smooth these guys out a bit. And sometimes it's really good to take these short breaks. I usually do it like almost every hour for 5 or 10 minutes, because you do something else instead of being in front of the computer, and it's good for my back, but you also get these ideas. And I had one idea that I should do some crack that's kind of to make it look like one of these stones are that it's almost like chiseled into this other one. So when I texture paint, I can make that a bit different color of gray. So you can see that one stone is almost like put in place and then worked on by somebody. And whoa. I'm gonna pinch these cracks a bit together so I can show you how it looks. I guess you saw it in the other when I did the altar. So if you pinch them together, they look more realistic. Because now the strokes are kind of wide, so you can always like pinch these and pinch this part a little bit. But let's try and get all these I can actually paint a bit into the ground that doesn't that's actually only good, I think. But they should kinda disappear. And maybe one can branch out from there. You don't always have to add this like parts where it looks like something has fallen off, but it kinda helps. Easy details. So I see one issue here, that's all the strokes are kind of stretch horizontal, and that's probably because I didn't spend the time to make all the faces squared in this part, which is kind of bad, but yeah, it kind of is what it is now. So you can have one crack that goes down there but kind of disappears on the way. So I'm not probably gonna finish this sculpting completely. I'm just gonna do the overall stuff, and then I can go later off stream, so you guys don't have to look at this all the time. I can go and continue doing all this like detailed. But I'm gonna try and do all the major ones, so the next time it's not going to be a completely new model. The next time you see it. And I should actually also just take the flatten one and the flatten brush and kind of break this the repetitiveness of this anchored ones, because they are all using the same brush. So we can go and make this flatten and make it like it's continuing through the model. Maybe just smooth some. And we have some stuff here that would also be nice if we kind of just flatten it out. But this can flatten, can go like through the chisel. I guess you should have some kind of thought behind it. Was it chiseled after, or was it chiseled out and then somebody worked on it? But I just go on. And before you like go bananas and destroy everything, it's kind of easy to do it. At least for me, when I'm zoomed in, I just work on some parts. So it's kind of nice to zoom out and do the overall stuff. Oh, like that was destroying, destructive. But do the like overall look, and then later. You shouldn't add that much stuff. You should just finish the idea you had. So maybe one crack can start from nothing and then just go through here and kind of end in nothing also. All the other cracks has kind of started at one of these chisels. Kind of wanted it to be thinner, but that stuff you can always fix with the pinch. So where it ends, it should be kind of, oh, that was way too much, but a couple of strokes. And I really don't pay attention to these guys, but if something is like, if you're afraid that you're gonna project onto them and destroy stuff that you're happy with, the mask brush is your friend. You can like mask out like this, Control I to invert, and now if I pinch, I know I'm just pinching the stuff I masked out. I can't pinch anything here or accidentally do strokes up there. And then Alt M to release the mask. So that's really handy when sculpting. Yeah. Oh. Surprisingly kind of responsive. I mean, Blender is surprisingly kind of responsive even when streaming and sculpting. Some stuff is weird, like my brush menu for some reason lags really much when I stream. But like sculpting this super, not super, but kind of high poly stuff, it's still managed. Yeah, so I need more cracks in the stone, and especially I said I kind of want one crack that's go around like an entire piece. Yeah, I've used non-Blender Screencast Keys before, so that is above Blender. I should probably also, but that add-on is really nice. I don't think it's, maybe it's in the master branch. I kind of remember I had to look it up, but it's in Blender, so it's easy to enable. The bad thing is that when I append and start new files, I sometimes forget to turn it on again. those brushes are cool. Yeah, you should. I'm gonna post the link to the brushes. I made a video in my add-on series about these brushes, so you can watch that video also. But I'm gonna post the link to the files on Blend Swap. I think the original author is called Michael Vicente, and he's a character artist at Blizzard, so it has really this World of Warcraft Blizzard like hand-painted style, which I kind of like. If you're gonna go for something more photoreal, you should probably use another set of brushes. But okay, it's kind of Blend Swap was slow today for me. But here's the link to the brushes. And I'm gonna jump into Blender again. So I think I'm gonna make one crack that's which I have to probably finish later. No, not like that, but I'm gonna put the basic part of the crack. If I do something like that and make it look I'm gonna try and do it and remove if I don't like it, but I think I would like to try the idea to have one part that's almost like not part of the entire stone, so I can, when I texture paint it, I can make this part a bit different in color. Whoa, that is actually too big brush stroke, but so probably will pinch these strokes a bit together. I really don't. Now I have started, so I have to finish this. It didn't really pan out as I imagined. Anyways, I'm gonna use the stone texture a bit in this crevices before I pinch them together, and it probably was a bit too big, but doesn't matter. I'm gonna go over the entire model with this brush pretty soon. So here's the problem with that the geometry wasn't really square faces, so it becomes a bit stretch. But yeah, not super happy with that one, but maybe it's gonna look cool when I start texture painting. So I'm gonna make this smooth, but I'm gonna add some of this rock texture to the other part. then it would probably help to later to sell the idea that it's made of another stone. So this brush is just fine details. Most of the strokes are gonna be destroyed when I probably using flatten brush more, but it's nice to get some of the stuff out of the way. And this ground plane is not gonna be super visible, but it kinda helps the stones to stand out a bit. Right. So it kinda looks better. Oh no. Smooth that one. But if you keep some of these parts smooth and then do oh no, I smoothed away the entire crack. But anyways, you can smooth them, make some of the surface a bit smooth, and then the other ones can be a bit rocky texture. Another way to mask stuff out is Alt B and draw this viewport. So if I just want to, no, Alt B. If I just want to paint on this green, I can do like that. I shouldn't paint too much in the where it's cut off, but can kind of focus on this part, which is not done. So let's make another one of these cracks. And the later in the day and the more you focus, the more brain power I lose. So kind of forget to... Shit, that didn't look good. Kind of regret the entire thing. No. Okay, I have to fix it later. Could probably just smooth it away, most of the parts. Let's pinch it away and hide it. It became too like it became too rounded. Maybe like that is better. Kind of want this clear lines for the cracks. Yeah, but as I said, you could spend an entire day just working on one of these assets, and that's probably a good amount of time to spend on them, like doing the high poly sculpt and then low poly version. So if I go to object mode, you can see there's a lot of like shading issues on the mesh, but that goes away when we bake, because we're baking from this one, the sculpted, into a low poly. But I don't want to do the decimate modifier because I'm gonna do that in a video later, and if I do it now the stream might die, and also I'm not really finished with this one. So I'm just gonna look at the chat. I don't see you saving the project many times. Do you have some form of autosave activated? No. I actually removed all those extra files Blender makes. Now it seems like the stream has a bad health on my side. So sometimes I actually use the fact that I don't save a lot if I do stuff that I don't like. I can always open up a new version. And I kind of do this kind of versioning where I do something big, like creating a low poly model. I can open up one of those. So in this one, I still have like the low poly and the high poly base mesh. If I want to sculpt on it more, I can do it and then generate a new low poly and bake normal maps. But in the next version, I removed all the high poly. I only have the low poly assets, and I have material set up for them also. Although these are very basic materials, they have no base textures and stuff. But I should save more actually. Here I have 4 versions in different names, but it's the same. In one of these files I probably have the high poly versions left. Probably, hopefully. Should be in high poly. Yeah, so these are, you can still go in on them and sculpt and stuff. Let me see if there's something else I can work on. So when I'm done with the high res, I usually make one of these low poly ones and bring them back into the scene. So these 4 stones, I need to sculpt and bake all of them. And I should probably bring in my new altar, but I need to bake and stuff. And that's gonna kill the stream. So, whoa, what has, no, all my stones are gone. Okay. I'm just gonna take a quick look and see what's happened. Okay, so this should be those stones. What? They are linked, so... Okay, something has happened, I think, yeah. I lost the link. Can I maybe link them in again and... Okay, I'm gonna fix that off stream. But it seems like I lost the link and then they don't have a reference to the mesh. So the stone staircase is gone. Do you use proxy objects in your final scene? Yeah, I mean I use proxy objects here in Blender. But the final rendering is gonna be in Unreal. So I'm gonna bring all these assets in and recreate it in Unreal. Because if I bring in this scene, all these like instances are gonna be a separate object. So I will probably use instances in Unreal. Maybe they're called proxies, but So I'm just gonna bring in like these trees and then make up the entire forest in Unreal. But in Blender I use proxies a lot, and I think this is joined, but I have one file. Let's see, Birch Unreal. In this file they shouldn't be joined, so I'm gonna rebuild them in Unreal without joining the canopy to the trunk. Then I can make like this trunk has this canopy. I can make like some kind of variations of them, but that's the idea. But I kind of want to use instances, so we don't like bog down the scene with a lot of like duplicate geometry and stuff like that, and materials also. I'm just gonna look around and see what I can work on next. Okay, no such file. Okay, I shouldn't have like deleted anything. Maybe I could do another one of these, or a completely new one. But I'm kind of tired of sculpting and stuff today. I might end the stream and just prepare dinner and stuff, and stream tomorrow. Because I already done all the stuff I wanted to do today, sculpt and paint. I painted those trees, and I sculpted the altar and stuff like that. And the only thing left to sculpt on them is the same stuff I've been doing, like cracks and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna end the stream for today, and probably gonna be back tomorrow. No, not break. Oh, sorry. I'm probably gonna be back streaming tomorrow, and hopefully I can try and improve the stream health a bit, and I'm gonna see what I can do with Streamlabs. Why it's breaking after a while and stuff like that. And also I'm gonna work on this scene a bit off stream the rest of the day, and maybe tonight a bit, and figure out what else to do. I have to go and eat. Thank you again so much for sharing your time and knowledge. Regards to all of you guys. Yeah, thank you all in chat, all of you who turned up. And it's been great. I've learned a couple of things also, and it's always nice to share knowledge, and together we can try to build up this like Blender creative community on YouTube. There are a couple of guys on Twitch, but Twitch it seemed like I have better connection to the YouTube servers. At least it seems like that. But yeah, happy blending, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye.